Welcome to our playground.
Recess the podcast is an eclectic show of organic discussion, imagination, deep conversations, interviews, creativity, intuition, high vibrations, and fun.
Be informed, energized, inspired, and entertained with me, Jamie.
And me, Brian. Ready or not, here we come.
Because we all need to take a break. Hey, Brian, how are you today?
I'm good, Jamie. How are you?
You know, I'm really good. I always find myself having those moments, it seems like the 3 o'clock yawns afternoon kind of thing where it just hits you hit that wall, right? And you're just like, oh, and it was hitting me earlier before we started recording, talking about this. And I was like, it's time for recess.
Yes. Well, we're both morning people. And so I know, I'm just like you kind of in the afternoon. I was like, okay, we're almost done for the day.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm sure that our listeners can relate to that. And that's part of what I love about the podcast is it gives everybody a chance to take a little 20, 30-minute break and play with us,
Yeah.
So I was just thinking too about what I like to do when I need to take a break. And the other night I was working longer than I had hoped for and expected. Sometimes you get lost in the sea of emails and then all of a sudden it sparks another idea and you start researching it. And then and I'm like, okay, time for me to close my laptop, sign off, and just veg.
How do you like to veg?
Oh, several ways, but this time it was movies. And I'm one of those, I like new movies for sure. And I'm a Netflix, Amazon, Hulu person, and I like originals. If they capture me, I like just about all genres, but I seem to default, like when I really need to check out, I default to ones I've seen many times and that I just can relate to. And it's just comforting and easy where I don't have to think too much,
Yeah, no, that's interesting because I'm one of those that I rarely watch some twice. I mean, there's a few that just really impacted me. It's like, okay, we're going back there a time or two, but yeah, no, that's interesting. Okay.
Well, there's a psychological thing that some psychologists will agree with, and that is if you tend to watch movies over and over again, ones that you've seen, it's because you were raised in a household that had high cortisol. So you were constantly on high alert, and so you were seeking comfort.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? And that's what I find for myself, because I grew up in a house that it was constant action. There's always something going on, activity, and if, my mom, she rarely ever got upset, but if my dad got upset, it was like World War III, So it was yelling and animation, and he's just a very animated person. And so it puts you on high alert. So that's that cortisol thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard that before. All right. So, okay. So you like to watch movies over. What are some movies that have, that have impacted you?
Well, I'll default to my most recent one, which was Eat, Pray, Love. That was the one that I ended up falling asleep to, more or less, or, right before bed. Because in 2019, I call it my Eat, Pray, Love year, where I moved out from the East to West Coast. And my friends joke me and say that I was homeless. I wasn't. I had a place, I always had a roof over my head, but I didn't really have a permanent address because I was staying with friends, and then I would fly back east to see my kids, and my son got married that year, and then I'd fly back west. And
I remember that time. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. And it was a way of me being able to really find myself. And in the middle of that, one of my best friends had his own crisis that I was rescuing him because I was like, he was battling things like depression and things like that. And I really thought I was going to lose him. So I was like, nope, you're staying with me. So he hung out with me for many months. Yeah. And then it wasn't until January of 2020 that I found Reno and my place. And of course, COVID hit. But anyways, Eat, Pray, Love is one of those just movies that, because I can relate to the character so well with finding herself, going through divorce, I've been to Bali, so I have a connection there as well. And, and that deep desire to be who I really am, find my true self,
Explore.
Yeah. Yeah. And do things on my own.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh gosh. I love to watch movies and really good TV. It's just with all the streaming services, there's so many well-written shows and stuff. But I suppose for me, one of the movies that really impacted me, and it kind of provided a little bit of an embarrassing moment, was Into the Wild. And I think it came out around 2008, and it was directed by Sean Penn, and it starred Emile Hirsch, and it was based on the book by John Krakauer, which I really loved. And so I went to that movie with a date, and the movie was amazing. It was the weirdest thing, but right at the very end, I started sobbing. And I've only like maybe sobbed two or three times my entire life, they all happened unexpectedly. And so here I am, the movie's over, the lights are on, and I'm, and just like, oh my God, for about 5 minutes. And it was, where the heck did this come from? And I think looking back, I was kind of in the beginning of a transition for myself as well. I think I just recently told my dad I wanted to leave the family business, and I hadn't left yet, but it was in movement. And watching Emile Hirsch play the character of Chris McCandless, the real life character, who after school he gave away his money and he just hoboed around for a couple of years. And I think they ended up, for those of you who are familiar or not familiar, he ended up in Alaska, and they found him. He had actually starved to death. But I know it's kind of a sad story, but for me, I found it very inspiring because he just kind of went against the norm and, just followed his heart. And he was a really kind soul too. And he met all these people along the way, and he touched their lives. And so for me, that was, I don't know, it was like, a feeling of what was to come for me. You know what I mean? Just the opening, the unexpected potential of what was next. So that unexpectedly hit me really hard when I saw it.
I understand that. The ones that move me to every single emotion are my favorites, and American History X did that for me because my kids were raised Jewish. And so you're working with the storyline of the white supremacist, and then how he turns. Edward Norton is amazing, of course, and how he is in prison and then ends up turning his perspective and belief and bias and prejudice, and in his younger brother, I won't give it all away. If somebody hasn't seen it, highly recommend it. But his younger brother's following down his footsteps and how it ends, and I'm just sobbing. But I mean, throughout the entire movie, I'm watching this roller coaster of emotions of like anger, frustration, pride, warm feeling of like, oh, he's finally giving up his hate and prejudice, and he's embracing, diversity and all that. And he's turning his ways, if you will. And then all of a sudden at the end, it's like, no. So.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, well-written movies and TV are just amazing how they really just tap into the human condition and make us think and reflect and inspire us forward.
Absolutely. I think Hollywood's got us dialed in too. I am always fascinated with how movies and TV shows are somewhat predictive, if you will.
Yeah.
I always find that fascinating because it's like I was watching Designated Survivor, Taylor Sheridan, and I binge watched all the episodes, and I'm like, well, this is interesting that it happened right around the pandemic time, and there was all these storylines around it, and things like that. So, anyways, I always find that fascinating how Hollywood and then history, or I should say, future, start to come together.
It really is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just I love all kinds of movies. I don't do the slasher stuff, and rom-coms are a little, but I love to be inspired. There's so many amazing, inspiring movies out there. And
what's your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure is got a couple different ones. I love just almost not slapstick, but just really kind of goofy comedy. I like
Superbad, Talladega Nights.
Yeah, but like more recently, The Righteous Gemstones on HBO.
My daughter introduced me to that one.
Yeah, I mean it's goofy, but it's funny too. But you know what I really like? Taika Waititi. For those that are unfamiliar, he's an actor and a writer and director. He actually just directed the last Thor, but he's created some amazing shows. He created Reservation Dogs on Hulu. He created What We Do in the Shadows on Hulu. There's another one that I cannot think of that was really amazing as well. He wrote and directed Jojo Rabbit a few years back. He played Hitler. You know, he's just a very talented guy, and all of his stories kind of are funny, but they also have heart, and you learn a little bit as well. And so I'm a big fan of his work. Oh, the other one is of his. It's called Our Flag Means Death, and that's on HBO. And one of my friends, Samba Shoot, is a regular on that show, so that was really fun to watch. And it's a pirate comedy set in the 1700s, and it's funny and it's goofy, but there's also some good messages.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. My guilty pleasure is Hallmark.
Oh, wow.
I hate to admit it. But again, I'm a sentimental fool. My mom watches Hallmark every Sunday afternoon. And it was either that or James Bond was what we watched. I mean, talk
Well, I
about
know what I'd want to
contrast.
run. James, give me James Bond, you know.
Yeah, but James Bond didn't come out all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it was it's a traditional thing. It's sort of like John Wayne. My dad was a big John Wayne fan. So anytime I got to spend with him to watch a movie, it was usually Sons of Katie Elder, El Dorado, you know, some of those. So, you know, again, it goes back to, it's like music, movies, TV, they remind you of time spent. I mean, like you remember being in the theater on this date, sobbing. There was a connection to it. If you ever watch the movie again, you probably wouldn't react the same, but you would remember that time of like, oh, this moved me. That's why I love that movie so much.
For sure. For sure.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah, oh, for sure. You know, and I'm a big fan of, you know, the Jack Ryan, the Jack Reacher
Reach
stuff.
around. Yeah.
And, you know, just they're fun and they're witty and they're action packed. And
Yeah. Yeah. Those are easy. For me, those are entertainment. I like to be entertained. If
for sure.
But I will tell you, I'm very selective with when I go to a movie theater versus watching a movie at home. Because for me to have the experience of going to a theater, which I'm one of those people, I don't mind going by myself. Some people don't like going to movies by themselves.
I do it all the time. Yeah.
I love,
yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem. But I'm selective. It has to be, well, okay. Another guilty pleasure is Marvel. I'm a Marvel freak. I love Marvel comics and Marvel, anyways, universe. So I will go to most of the Marvel movies. I'll reserve that for a theater. But the entertaining ones like the James Bonds, the Mission Impossibles, those kind of things are always fun to see in the theater.
Oh yeah, I mean they're larger than life, and you need to see those stunts on the big screen.
Like I wouldn't see a rom-com. I wouldn't see a Hallmark movie in a theater.
I wouldn't see it on TV either. but that's okay.
What was the last movie you saw in the theater?
Dang it. It might have been the latest Top Gun too.
Maverick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I saw the new Elvis in the theater also.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's interesting, because I do like to rewatch movies, especially if they're really good. And I thought Elvis was so amazing and so well done. And it came out on my birthday. That's another reason I went. And then it came out on Amazon, and I was like, oh, I loved it so much, I'm gonna buy it. I started to watch it again, and within 10 minutes, I'm like, it doesn't have the same impact.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
But the last movie I saw in the theater was 65.
65?
The dinosaur movie that, God, what's his name? You'll know the actor. He was in Star Wars, the new Star Wars. Anyways, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but it wasn't worth seeing in the movie theater in my opinion.
Okay. I love documentaries too. I can just get lost in historical documentaries and other kinds of things. They're just,
Well,
I'm a history nerd geek.
There's that. I like Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, that's always fun to watch too.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing about, again, with theater and with watching movies or taking a break with that, for me, it's about letting the mind rest. but it also has a lot of creativity to it, right? So if I'm feeling like I need some inspiration, then I tend to go and watch a movie or TV series, whatever.
For sure, especially since I kind of threw my hat in the ring for a little while in LA, I really appreciate great acting and well-written stuff, and that kind of inspires me in its own way too. But yeah, no, I can watch something and really just get fired up, and just all right, let's do this. You know what I mean? Whatever I'm doing in my current life, it just gives me that much more.
What do you think of the whole CGI though?
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on how it's being used and what it's in and stuff. Some of it's just over the top and just like too much. And it's just, I don't like things that are loud and noisy and, some of those probably superhero stuff. It's into that category for me, but a little bit, it was all right, I suppose. Sometimes it's pretty easy to tell, you look at a background or whatever, that's fake fire or,
Right.
what have you. But if you just kind of look past it a little bit, it works.
Yeah. See, I think for me, that was the point. The last superhero movie I watched, way too much CGI.
Mhm.
And I lost interest because I was like, I could just sit here and read a comic book versus watch it on television.
Yeah.
So,
I'm kind of noise sensitive too a little bit, and I don't know if you agree or not, but it just feels like movie theaters are tuned up too loud. And so I go in there sometimes, it's like, good God, but maybe I'm just getting old.
I don't know. I think it depends on the movie. Like Maverick, you mentioned Maverick, the second Top Gun.
Yeah.
Great movie. I
Yeah. Oh
own it.
no.
I've watched that one probably 7, 8 times now.
I actually saw it twice at the theater. Yeah.
I saw it twice at the theater too. It was just that good. I went first with my partner and the second time by myself because I was like, I just have to see it again.
I know. Did you ever see Whiplash a few years back? The one that Miles Teller played the drummer and
No.
what's his name? JK, whatever, won an Academy Award for it. He played as just over the top, mean music teacher, conductor, what have you. But that really inspired me. I don't know if it inspired me or just blew me away, but I went and saw that 3 times in the theater, and that was a first for me. But
Wow.
it's one of my top 10 favorite movies, Whiplash. About
Wow.
5, 6 years old now. Yeah, just
Okay.
the performances are amazing.
I love movies that have a musical background basis, storytelling, that
Yeah,
sort of thing. But I also love music. So that plays a big
you would
part,
like it.
especially like Bohemian Rhapsody, one of my
Oh yeah,
favorites. Right. So Rocket Man was good in its own right. And the acting's amazing and all
he's a
of
great
that.
actor. Yeah, Taron Egerton.
Yeah. Yeah. But Bohemian Rhapsody just really nailed it for me. I guess because I related more to Queen than I did to Elton John, which I
Hmm,
love Elton John. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think
right.
he's amazing.
Yeah, they did
But
land a little differently though.
it just landed differently for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. What
Uh,
kind of what movies move you the most besides Into the Wild?
Jeez. Underdog stuff.
Mm,
Um,
Rudy,
did you ever see the Peanut
Rudy.
Butter Falcon?
Yes.
That I like that a lot. That was really good. And that was kind of uplifting and funny and heartfelt. Um, yeah, just kind of underdog does good, comes through, sticks something out, and it works out in his favor or her favor.
Yeah. I love like Rudy. That's a classic for me.
Yeah.
Anything well, it's not really underdog, but Gladiator is one of my favorites. Russell Crowe. Um,
Hmm.
love those. But as far as like really moving me,
Yeah.
like I say, it has to have all the ebbs and the flows. I'm pulling one out from a while ago, Mr. Holland's Opus.
Oh yeah. I'm familiar with it. I honestly don't know if I saw it.
You
Yeah,
may have to go
I
into
know.
the archives.
I'm sure it's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you another one that came out on Netflix that is amazing. It's a Jonathan Larson story. If you haven't seen it, TikTok Boom. Absolutely brilliant.
I didn't see it, but I'm
Brilliant.
familiar with that too. Yep.
Jonathan Garfield is amazing. the fact that he can sing and play the piano and act like that. I mean, it was just beautiful. And the soundtrack's gorgeous too.
Mm. Yeah, I heard that he kind of had to learn how to sing for that. He had never done that before.
Well, he nailed it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. So,
I also love, and I don't necessarily think that they inspire me as much as some other movies, but I love Westerns.
oh yeah. Yeah. White Earp. That's a great one.
Yeah, yeah, no, of course it was.
You're talking
Absolutely.
about oldies?
Yes and no. I almost like the new stuff better because it's a little more authentic, a little grimier, and a little dirtier. And yeah.
So I'm going to challenge the audience, see if they even know of these. I don't know what generation people are from that are listening, but I used to watch Roy Rogers, Gene Autry, some of those
All the
classics.
singing cowboys.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
singing cowboys.
Yeah.
They ride off into the sunset.
There's a great, if one has Sirius XM, um, on the Willie's Roadhouse channel, there's like once a week they have I forgot the title, but it's old time cowboy music.
Oh,
And it's awesome from the 20s and even early 30s, 40s. And it's hosted by one of the guys who was in that amazing trio, more modern now, they're probably all retired. Riders on the Storm.
oh yeah.
All right, we're not Riders in the Sky. Excuse me. But it's really cool because it's fun too, and the dialogue he has with this other guy, but it's really kind of fun to listen to all those old songs. There's that part of me that likes that old West history and and the music.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's anything, it's a connection, right? I mean, why else do we have love songs out there that you go, oh, I remember when I was 16, where I was making out in the back seat of the car, or whatever.
I don't have those memories.
Some of us do, Brian. I mean, Air Supply, come on. Actually, mine was an 80s long-haired band. It was more like Cinderella,
Okay, one of those power
Bon
ballads.
Jovi. So yeah, exactly.
You were a little rocker. I was probably more into the new wave music and stuff like that, but no, there was a lot. Well, we digress. I know we're getting close to the end here, but man, back then, I mean, there was such here's a $2 word, plethora of different styles of music that all made up the top 40, where, and it was kind of cool in that regard.
Yeah.
It's different now, and I feel bad for the kids today.
They seem to love the modern music, though.
What's that?
They seem to love the modern music.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, no, no, and that's cool. I guess for me, it just doesn't feel like it packs the same. It doesn't have as much soul. I mean, it's soulful, but yet it just feels like it's kind of templated.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. We were just lucky though. All that music from the 60s and 70s and 80s and some of the 90s, it was kind of original. And I know it might be hard to come up with original stuff after all that
Well,
time.
the thing I loved about the music during that time is that it really spoke, most of it spoke to what was happening in that time,
Yes,
with
a
the
reflection.
Vietnam War, with the peace and love, let's make love not war kind of mindset, and talking about the issues that are really happening, and things like that, which I still keep up with a lot of modern new music. I'm mostly a new rock person, and there are some really great bands out there that have written some powerful stuff since the pandemic. And so
Sure.
there's some music now, and we can get into this in another podcast, but talking about how mental health has really come to the forefront and it's not taboo anymore. And there's actually bands that are writing music about that, and
Yes.
and their own struggle with it.
Yes.
So anyways, that inspires me that some of the modern music has that.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree, and I hope I didn't sound like I was lumping it all together, but you're right.
No, I totally get it. I mean, again, it's subjective based on what we grew up with, what we can relate to, what resonates with us,
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways.
I can't help it if we have better musical taste than. I'm just kidding.
Well, you know what? That's another way to take a break and have recess is to unplug and listen to some favorite music. You know, they say if you listen to your music from childhood in the morning, it sets your tone for the day
Huh,
in a good way.
yeah.
It can help set your tone. Yeah. So I guess I'll be listening to some 80s rock band music every morning.
All right.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you
Thanks for
too.
this
Thank you.
time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks everybody for playing with us.
Yep. And feel free to reach out and let us know what you'd like us to talk about, or maybe we're gonna, bring guests on as well, or somebody you want to hear about or from, let us know.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep playing. So
Yeah.
that's what we're here for. All right, Brian. See you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining Jamie and Brian on Recess, the podcast, the twice-weekly show of eclectic, inspired, and entertaining discussion. Be sure to subscribe as well as share with your friends and spread the good news. It's always appreciated. If you'd like to learn more about Jamie's intuitive coaching services and creative projects, please go to jamiedon.com. And if you'd like to learn more about Brian and his creative spark world and books, please go to gbrianbenson.com.